Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the center and the state relations, right? And basically in this lecture, these are the topics we have scheduled for the discussion, like starting with the introduction part, thereafter the legislative relations, thereafter the administrative relations, financial relations, and the trends in the center state relations. All right. So far we have completed the introduction part, legislative relations, the administrative relations. Okay. And the topic which we have been discussing upon is the financial relations. And the topic we are left with is the trend in the center state relations. All right. So we will start from where we had finished in the last lecture. So let's go ahead. Okay. That is what we had finished. Now come to this point. Okay. The smooth and efficient administration of the GST requires the cooperation and the coordination between the center and the state. Order to facilitate this consultation process, basically there is an First Amendment Act of 2016 provided for the establishment of Goods and Service Tax Council, or famously known as the GST Council. So basically we had discussed in this point that basically the GST was introduced in India in the year of 2017. Okay, that is what we had discussed. All right. So basically the GST is, you can say, implemented to tailored and merge all the indirect taxes levying by the center and the state. All right. So basically, when we included the center and the state, it means that the cooperation and the coordination of them is required. Okay. So to facilitate this consultation process, basically the First Amendment Act of 2016 was provided, and this established the GST Tax Council or Goods and Services Tax Council. All right. Thereafter, there is an Article 279A which empowered the President to constitute a GST Council by an order. The Council is the joint forum of the center and the state, required to make the recommendation to the center on the following matters. And what are these matters? Let's see. First matter is taxes, cesses, and surcharges levied by the center, the states, and the local bodies that would get merged in the GST. Okay. Thereafter, the goods and services that may be subjected to the GST or exempted from the GST. All right. Thereafter, the model GST laws, principle of levy, apportionment of GST, levied on supplies in the course of interstate trade or commerce, and the principles that govern the place of supply. Thereafter, the threshold limit of turnover below which the goods and services may be exempted from the GST. Okay. Then the rates, including the floor rates with bands of GST. Thereafter, any special rate or rates for a specified period to raise additional resources during any natural calamity or disaster. Okay. So these are some of the matters. Thereafter, now we have the Finance Commission. Okay. So the first thing which we are required to keep in our mind here is that which article provides for the Finance Commission. Okay. So Article 280 provides for a Finance Commission. Okay. As a quasi-judicial body. Okay. It is constituted by the President every 5th year or even earlier. Okay. So remember that the basic time period for the appointment of the Finance Commission is minimum 5 years. But It's depend upon the president that if he feels that the finance commission should be appointed earlier, then he could appoint it earlier. It is required to make recommendation to the president on the following matters. The first thing here is the distribution of the net proceed of taxes to be shared between the center and the states, and the allocation between the states the respective shares of such proceed. So basically, we could say suppose for an hypothetical situation, okay, the total collected amount is rupees 10,000. Okay, rupees 10,000 is the total collected amount, for example. Thereafter, total tax collected expenditure is rupees 7,500. All right. So basically, what is the net proceeding here? Rupees 2,500. Okay. We have just make some wrong entries. That. Okay. Why? Because as I had shown in the previous lecture, net proceedings could be calculated by subtracting the total amount with the total tax collection expenditure. All right. So that is the thing. So the Finance Commission will recommend that how the thing will be divided, how the amount or net proceeding will be divided between the center and the states. Okay. And how will be the procedure or percentage of taxes divided between states. All right. That will be the thing. Got it? So that's the first thing. It means that the tax will be divided between the 28 states and the center, and the tax distribution is not uniformly happen amongst these 28 states. It means that there will be a proportional division. So how this could be done, that is also be ensured by this. Okay. The principles which should govern the grants in aid to the states by the center, therefore out of consolidated fund of India. All right. How this could be done? Okay, we had discussed that the center, by the power of the Constitution of India, is basically, you could say, you can say, responsible to give the grants to the state, which is known as the grants in state. So how this could be done, and which state should go which portion. Thereafter, the third thing is that the measures needed to the augment the Consolidated Fund of India to supplement the resources of the panchayats and the municipalities in the state on the basis of recommendations made by the State Finance Commission. Okay, so these are the areas on which the Finance Commission gives advice to the president. Thereafter, any other matter referred to it by the president in the interest of the sound finance. Okay, thereafter, till 1960, the commission also suggested the amounts paid to the states of Assam, Bihar, Odisha, and West Bengal in lieu of assignment of any share of the net proceed in each year of export duty on jute and jute products. Why? Because all of these are the jute proceeding states. All right. So the thing becomes important for it. Thereafter, the constitution envisages the Finance Commission as the balancing wheel of the fiscal federalism on India. Fiscal federalism in India, it means that how the fiscal powers are divided between the center and the state. Why it is so? Because the Finance Commission is the body which recommends the suggestions and all to the President of India on the important topics like we had just discussed. Okay, and these topics forms the important part of fiscal federalism. All right. Thereafter, another thing which we could see here is the protection of the state's interest. What do you mean by this? To protect the interest of states in the financial matter, the Constitution lays down that the following bills can be introduced on the Parliament only on the recommendation of the President. Okay, like which? First, the Parliament bill, the a bill which imposes or authorizes any tax or duty in case which states are interested. Okay, so if Parliament wants to discuss any bill which containing this kind of things and the ingredients they having, so this kind of bill could only be presented in the Parliament only after the recommendations of the President. Until or unless the President do not recommend it, the bill will not be presented to the Parliament. All right. Thereafter, a bill which varies the meaning of expression, which is famously known as the agriculture income. Okay, as defined for the purpose of the enactment leading to the Indian Income Tax Act. All right. Thereafter, a bill which affects the principle on which monies are or may be distributable to the states. Okay. Thereafter, a bill which imposes any surcharge or any specified tax or duty for the purpose of center. Okay. Thereafter, the expression tax or duty in which states are interested means that, what does it mean? This term. This term means a tax or duty, the whole or part of the net proceeds whereof are assigned to the any state, or a tax or duty by reference to the net proceeds whereof sums are for the first time being payable out of the consolidated fund of India to any state. Okay, that is the thing. The phrase net proceed means the proceed of a tax or a duty minus the cost of collection. Okay, the net proceed of a tax or a duty in any area is to be ascertained and certified by the Comptroller and the Auditor General of India, CAC. Okay, his certificate is final. It means that if he satisfied, then the tax or duty will be final. If he is not certifying it, then this will be a case of uncertainty. Thereafter, what are the borrowing by the center and the states? Like, how does they borrow? The Constitution makes the following provision with regard to the borrowing powers of the center and the states. First power is that the central government can borrow either within India or outside upon the security of the Constituent Fund of India, or can give guarantees, but both within the limits fixed by the Parliament. So far, no such law has been enacted by the Parliament. The central government, as we discussed, basically they are allowed to borrow domestically, okay, and internationally, okay, but there is a limit, okay, there is a limit which fixes by the Parliament. All right, but so far no such law has been enacted by the Parliament. Okay, so that's the thing. Thereafter, similarly, a state government can borrow within the India and not abroad. Remember, only the Domestic borrowing allowed. Allowing me, not allowed. Allowed. All right. Upon the security of the consolidated fund of the state or can give guarantees, but both within the limits fixed by the legislature of the state. So, what do you mean by upon the security of the consolidated fund of the state or can give the guarantees? What does it mean? Let me explain you with a simple thing. Suppose this is you. Okay. This is the bank. So, what are the two basic functions of the bank? First is accept deposits, like you and me can go to the bank and deposit our amount. Second is taking loans. That's the thing, right? That's the thing. All right. So whenever you go to the bank to take the loan, it means that you are not having that much of amount which you are required. So will the bank give you the money easily? No. The bank will ask you to submit the mortgage, right? To submit the mortgage. Now, what is the meaning of mortgage? What do you mean by the mortgage? Okay. So the mortgage is a security. Okay. That could be anything. Suppose you are going to take a loan of rupees 2 lakh. Okay. So the bank will take the mortgage of worth rupees 2 lakh from you. All right. And the bank will hold this thing. If you are getting fail to repay the amount, the bank will sold out the thing and recover the amount which they had granted to you. That is what we call as an guarantee. Okay. Which we call as an guarantee. That's it. That's the thing. All right. So similar things happen with the state government and the central government. When the state and the central governments goes out and basically they are seeking for the you can say amount to borrow. All right, they're looking for the borrowing amount. So they will get the amount from the you can say the domestic creditors or the international creditors. Okay, in the case of the national government, both the domestic creditors as well as the international creditors will give the amount. In the case of the state government, only the domestic creditors are allowed to give the amount. Okay, that's the thing, right? That is what we had discussed also. But the creditors who are providing the money to the government, what do you think? Will they not require any kind of security? Do they require? Okay, that's why the security or the guarantee the state or the central government takes, basically that's depend upon the, in the case of the central or the national government, it is basically depend upon the consolidated fund of India, while in the case of the state government, it is basically depend upon the consolidated fund of state. All right. So basically, it's depend upon two cases. Okay. So that's the thing. But in the case of the national government, basically the parliament could set the limits on which the national government could borrow the amount from the international or the domestic creditors and guarantee on the consolidated fund of India. While in the case of the states, basically the respective state legislature is responsible for it. Okay. So remember the thing. All right. Thereafter, the central government can make loans to any state or give guarantees in respect of the loans raised by any state. It means that central government is not only provided the amount to the state government, but also provided their guarantee to back the state government against the domestic creditors. Any sums required for the purpose of making such loans are to be charged on the consolidated fund of India. Okay. A state cannot raise any loan without the consent of the center if there is still outstanding any part of the loan made to the state by the center on respect of which a guarantee has been given by the center. All right. Thereafter, another thing is the state governmental tax immunities, intergovernmental tax immunities, basically. Like any other federal constitution, the Indian constitution also contains the rule of immunity from mutual taxation and makes the following provision in this regard. First is exception of the central property from the state taxation. What does it mean? It means that suppose if we're talking about both the state, the central government as well as the state government. So basically, they both are operating in the country. They both are having their own taxation and they both are having their own planning. So basically, the mutual tax avoidance scheme is for this kind of condition, in which the conditions are to be avoided, in which on the same property or on the same thing, both the center and the state governments are imposing taxes. All right. So students, basically this thing we will discuss in the next lecture. For this lecture, that is the enough thing which we had discussed so far. In the next lecture, we will continue from here. Till then, just revise all the facts and figures whatsoever we have discussed in this lecture. And thank you.